to 85. Hello, my name is Sophie. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make watercolor paints with all natural ingredients. So I'm going to be telling you about all of the supplies that I have right now. I have a palette knife, a scraper, a plate, a pen to write down the date in this notebook that I'm going to be using to test the watercolor on that you'll see later. A towel for the paintbrush, a paintbrush, the water for the paintbrush, a muller, some pigments, water for my fingers. This is the binder. This is the pigment that's already measured out. This is the containers that I'm going to be using to put the paint in, and they're little magnets that you can take out like that. They're little like square things. And this is a towel for your hands. And right here, which is on the table, is a glass palette to put the paint on and mold it on. So I have a botanical pigment that is made out of plants and earth pigment made out of rocks and minerals. So if you don't know what pigment means, it's the stuff that gives things color. Like the cabbage has purple pigment. So the one I'm going to be using is this big one made out of the cabbage. Yeah, it's pigment made from cabbage, it's weird. Okay, two things before we start actually making the paint is that if you want to learn how to make pigments and the binders, you can make sure to go check out our other videos. And second of all, you might want to put something over your clothes, even though these are natural, and roll up your sleeves. I think it's a good idea. Okay, I think we're ready to make paint. Okay, I'm gonna move these out of the way so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is measure out your pigment to be probably about a teaspoon, and the binder should also be a teaspoon too, so it can be a 1:1 ratio. I'm just going to put the pigment right in the middle of the glass plate palette thing. Now I'm going to take my palette knife and kind of make a little hole in the middle of the pigment that I poured. Now I'm going to take my pre-measured binder and pour it into the middle of the pigment. Now I'm going to take my palette knife and just kind of mix it around, maybe like fold it a little bit, just like to get it all mixed around with the binder. And if you put a little too much binder, you can put more pigment. And if you put too little a binder, then just put in more. So you need to mix this together really well, and then after that we're going to go farther and use the muller to mull it and cover all the particles with binder. This is a pretty color. Okay, so now that's all mixed, I'm going to put that palette knife aside, and I'm going to stick the muller right in the middle and then just kind of swirl it around. Try to cover all the particles. And the reason why we want to cover all the particles is to get higher quality of paint and to get it smoother so that it won't be like chunky kinda. And the binder is what causes the pigment to stick to the paper. The smell. And at some point your paint should be the consistency of butter. And once you're done molding it the first time, you're going to take your scraper and you're going to scrape the bottom of the muller and then just put that aside right there. And then you're going to scrape all of the paint into the middle and then mull it again. and then again, and then again, and then again, and then for 80 years. Now, in a little bit, we want to test the paint and wait for it to dry. And when it's dry, we can rub it with something white, like a paper towel or paper or something. And if it rubs off onto the paper, then we'll need to mull it more. I usually mull it like 4 or 5 times. One time I mulled it like 7 times. Is mulling a verb? I'm going to scrape this again and do the blah, 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 blah. And after this one, I'm going to test it in this notebook. Okay, now I'm going to take my paintbrush and dip it in a little bit of water. And then, take my paper, wherever it is. Dip it into the paint. And then I'm just going to kind of mark it on there, like that. Oh yeah, that looks like it's gonna need to be mulled a little bit more because it's really chunky. Just like that. So let's set that aside to dry, and then we'll check it in a minute. So now, I'm just gonna keep on mulling, keep on mulling, keep on mulling. Yeah, this isn't super exact because all the pigments react to the binder differently. And so you just want to like play around with it. It's an adventure. Okay, so I think this is a little too sticky, so my assistant's gonna bring my binder. Yummy. That's kind of a lot. Now I'm going to just mix it in again, kinda. Yeah, no. It's okay. And now I'm going to keep on mulling, keep on mulling, keep on mulling, keep on. It feels perfect. This is a great example where I need a little more binder than 1-to-1. And I'm just gonna keep on mulling. Keep on mulling, keep on mulling. I'm hungry. So you have to figure out what scraper works good for this. And we just found this one at some random place. I see a lot of people using palette knives online, but it just doesn't really work that well. And it also just might be because we haven't found the right palette knife. This is the 4th time I've been mulling this. I like cheese. Okay, so now I'm going to do a 5th mull. And then after that, I'm going to test it a 2nd time. And then I'm going to see if this one was good. And then we're going to clean up, put it in these thingies, and then compare. You can keep on mulling and comparing as many times as you want. Just to make it more quality, and just, But for this case, we're just going to be testing it 2 times. So sticky. Finger water, finger water. Now you may be thinking, how do you know if you have too much binder and not enough pigment? Well, if you test it on the paper after you mulled it, and it's just like not very pigmenty and just you probably have too much binder, so then you can just add more pigment. So now we're going to test. No, I only have 2. Blah, blah. It's okay. Now I'm going to dip the paintbrush into my, whoa, that was a lot of water. You don't want to add too much water because it will fool you. Okay, I'm going to take my paper, going to dip it in there, and I'm just going to paint again with it. Wow, that looks so much better. Okay, now I've done that, you always want to write down in your notes what the type of pigment was, and this test was after you mold it 5 times, 6 times, 80 times, you know? And write down the type of binder. So I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and in the meantime, I'm going to clean up and put this into the palette. I am going to take out the big one because it seems like there's a lot of paint. So I'm going to take my palette knife, kind of scoop it up, and then, kind of scoop it up, let it drip in there just a little bit, and then after it does that for a little bit, I'm just going to scrape it on the side so it gets all in there. And then just keep on doing that until most of your paint is inside. If you want, you can wait a couple weeks for the water to evaporate, so it'll be like hard, kind of like watercolor that you would buy at a store, and use water to activate it and use it. Or you can use it right away if you want, and then it'll just dry over time as you use it. This is more like 2 full pans because this is a lot of paint. So I'm gonna put it into 2 pans because this is a lot of paint. And then when you're done putting all the paint in there, you can use a Q-tip to clean off the sides if you want it to be neat and perfect, which it shouldn't be though. I mean, it's not going to be. Okay, now that I've put the paint into these 2 pans, I am going to use a Q-tip, which is right here, came out of nowhere, and, and I might dip it in water if I want, and then I'm just going to clean off the edges and just make it all neat and clean so that I can have a party. I have no idea where that came from. Wow, this one's really clean. Okay, so now that I wiped these off, I'm going to bring my the thing that I put the pans in, and I'm just going to carefully place the big pans in to the thingy with my other paint. I kind of don't want to paint with them quite right away, so I'm just going to leave them for a few weeks to dry. And you want to make sure that you leave these flat so they don't like spill. So if you want to see what it looks like after it's been sitting for a little while, I have this paint tin that I made a little bit ago, and it is almost all dry, so it won't tilt, and I can use it now. Okay, now I'm going to test the first testing that we did for the purple, and this also came out of nowhere. I'm just going to kind of take this and wipe it on this first one up top. Wait, see if it's dry first. Wipe it on there a little, and then see if any comes off. Surprisingly, nothing came off from the second mulling. So we are good to go. And I'm just gonna wait for the second one to dry, but although it looks like all the pigment got covered, because in the first one there's a little bit of grittiness, and in the second one there's not really as much. So, time for cleanup. Clean up, dance. Clean up, everybody clean up, clean up. Clean up, clean up. Clean up is so easy because you only need water because it's all natural ingredients. Clean up done. Bye-bye. Excuse-moi. Thank you for watching my video. If you want to check out more videos, then go to mybotanicallife.com and click on Wild Arts Learning. Bye-bye. Do the bye-bye dance, bye-bye dance.